This week, President Trump officially declared war on wildlife. The Trump administration has taken aim at the strongest tool we have to protect plants and animals from going extinct, the Endangered Species Act. Since 1973, when President Richard Nixon signed the Endangered Species Act into law, it has been credited with preventing 99% of species in its care from going extinct. 99%! What other law or government program, or anything for that matter, has a 99% success rate? The Endangered Species Act is why we still have bald eagles, Florida manatees, grizzly bears, and gray wolves out in the wilderness, and not just stuffed in a display case in some museum. Scientists say that since it was enacted, the Endangered Species Act has stopped more than 200 species from completely dying off. But earlier this year, a United Nations report warned that we are in the midst of an extinction crisis. 145 scientists and experts from 50 countries contributed to the report. They sounded the alarm that in the next few years, human activities could lead to the die-off of more than 1 million species. And this doesn't only affect plants and animals. Bees and other pollinators are responsible for the production of a full third of the world's food. Rare plants and herbs that indigenous communities have used for millennia, the benefits of which Western medicine is only beginning to understand, have led to major scientific and medical breakthroughs. Old-growth forests provide habitat for many endangered and threatened species, and they also clean the air and sequester vast amounts of carbon dioxide, keeping the world from warming at a faster rate. The very health of the natural world that we all rely on for food, medicine, clean water, clean air, and strong economies is dependent on biodiverse, functioning ecosystems. The Endangered Species Act is there to make sure the most vulnerable in that vast web of life do not slip through the cracks. Yet, instead of producing bold and visionary ideas to further protect plants and animals, the Trump administration is doing the exact opposite, cutting giant holes in the last safety net we have to prevent widespread extinction. So, who benefits from what is essentially Trump's extinction plan? Powerful, polluting industries. Oil and gas, logging, mining, and industrial agriculture will be the beneficiaries of weakened enforcement of the Endangered Species Act. And the mastermind behind all this is Interior Secretary David Bernhardt, a former lobbyist who's worked for many of those very same industries. So, how do they benefit exactly? The administration has made 5 major changes to how it enforces the Endangered Species Act. Number 1, money is now a factor. Under the existing law, decisions to protect species must be solely based on science. Under Trump and Bernhardt's rules, economic considerations will now be injected into the decision-making process for the first time. This violates the very language and purpose of the law. Number 2, the new regulations allow for protected species to slowly slide towards extinction, so long as whatever human activity is harming them is only gradually pushing them to the brink. Number 3, the new regulations allow federal agencies to rely on empty promises from industries to minimize harm to protected species. Previously, when an industrial activity caused harm to an endangered species, the industry had to show measurable, enforceable actions to mitigate whatever activity is causing harm. Now, industry can just yada 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 through that process. Number 4, the new rules allow for the gradual destruction of forests, plains, grasslands, and rivers that these species need to survive. Over time, this will mean fewer places for threatened and endangered species to live. Big oil and other industries can basically just keep on keeping on without consequences from the administration, even though the places these critters need to survive are disappearing. Finally, number 5. The new regulations deprive newly listed species from automatically receiving protections against hunting, trapping, and other forms of harm. Yes, you heard that right. Even though an animal may be headed towards extinction, a threatened listing alone won't stop activities that can kill that species. So what do we do to stop this extinction plan? Well, we're going to court to use the power of the law to stop it. And there are members of Congress who are investigating what they can do to stop the administration's rollbacks. Give your senators and members of Congress a call and tell them to stop Trump and Bernhardt from slashing holes in the Endangered Species Act. Our wildlife and our future depends on it.